It's this incredibly common, like almost universal experience to feel just completely drained after staring at a computer screen for 8 hours straight.
Oh, totally. Absolutely wiped out.
Right. Just exhausted. But then you take, say, a 1-hour walk through a really dense green forest or even just a lush park, and suddenly you feel, well, totally refreshed.
Yeah, your shoulders drop, your breathing kind of naturally slows down.
Exactly. And we usually just chalk that up to, getting some fresh air. Or maybe it's just the psychological relief of finally getting away from our overflowing email inboxes.
Just escaping the grind for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But what if there's actually a highly specific, totally measurable biological mechanism at work there? Like, what if the literal physical act of light bouncing off a green leaf and entering your eye is actively altering your nervous system?
Now, that is the big question.
It is. So today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that. We're looking at how art and nature can be used as literal biological tools to basically biohack the human body. We've got this fascinating clinical research from a program that Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa Formation present.
Right.
And it's called 15 Days with the Impressionists.
It's a really incredible program. And just to give you listening a bit of essential context right up front, Kinexa Formation is approaching this from a strictly clinical, physiological perspective.
Yeah, this isn't our history class.
No, not at all. I mean, we aren't analyzing these beautiful 19th century Impressionist masterpieces to understand, like, the cultural vibes of France or to critique the artist's brushstrokes.
Right.
Dr. Delong and Kinexa are taking raw artistic intuition and transforming it into actionable, measurable medical data. They're actually demonstrating how certain types of visual input act as literal reset buttons for the human brain.
Which is wild.
It really is. They actively lower your stress hormones and shift your biology into this state of profound cellular level recovery. And today, we're zeroing in on day 12 of their protocol. They call it green chromotherapy. It's the core of what they label phase 3 of the program, which focuses entirely on regeneration and silence.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because, when most of us talk about looking at a painting, we usually talk about our emotional response, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like how a piece of art makes you feel subjectively. But Kinexa is stripping away all of that subjective emotion. They are looking at objective, involuntary physiological responses.
Exactly. They're literally treating these specific paintings as medical protocols.
Which is such a paradigm shift. But to really grasp how a painting can act like a prescription, we first have to understand the foundational biology, I think. Like, why does the human body react to the color green in the first place?
Well, it all comes down to primal evolutionary wiring. I mean, you have to understand that the human eye actually evolved to be incredibly sensitive to green wavelengths of light.
Okay.
Specifically, right around the 550 nanometer mark. From an ancestral standpoint, green is the ultimate non-negotiable safety signal.
Because it means life, basically.
Exactly. For early humans navigating a really dangerous world, a lush green environment meant that fresh water was nearby, plant and animal food sources were plentiful, and the immediate risk of starvation or dehydration was, well, essentially zero.
Oh, wow.
So our brains became hardwired over hundreds of thousands of years to interpret those specific green wavelengths as a biological stand-down order.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure we're getting the actual mechanics right for you listening at home, rather than just talking about the theory. When you say a stand-down order, what is physically happening in my body when that green light hits my eye?
It's a rapid chain reaction. So the green light enters your retina, right?
Yeah.
And it travels down the optic nerve. But here's the critical part. It doesn't just go to the visual cortex where you consciously think, oh, what a pretty tree.
Like where you appreciate the scenery.
Exactly. A secondary signal bypasses your analytical brain entirely. It shoots straight into the deep, primitive areas of your brain, like the amygdala, which is what regulates your threat detection. And that signal tells your adrenal glands to immediately halt the production of cortisol.
The stress hormone.
Right, your primary stress hormone. It physically stabilizes your heart rate. And it signals to your muscles that they can just stop preparing to run or fight.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this, though. If this is purely about, like, green light wavelengths hitting the retina and triggering the amygdala, why can't I just hack the system?
How do you mean?
Like, could I get the exact same biological benefit by painting my office wall toxic neon green, or just making my computer desktop a bright, solid green square and staring at that all day?
Oh, yeah, that's a crucial distinction. And the short answer is absolutely not.
No.
No, you cannot just stare at a flat neon green screen and expect your cortisol to plummet. What Dr. DeLong and the researchers at Kinexa emphasize is that the nervous system is highly sophisticated. It's not dumb.
Right. It knows it's looking at drywall.
Exactly. It requires a very specific harmony of greens that mimics the complex fractal patterns you find in the natural world. A flat, artificial, digital green just lacks the depth, the shadow, the subtle variations that the ancestral brain demands to confirm a true natural environment. It knows it's being tricked.
Which brings us to the first piece of clinical visual data Kinexa actually uses in the protocol. Claude Monet's famous painting, Le Pont Japonais, or the Japanese bridge.
Yeah, perfect example. When you look at Monet's Japanese bridge, you are not looking at a flat green square. You are looking at this fluid, enveloping, deeply complex vegetal universe.
Yeah, it's so lush.
It is. There are weeping willows, lily pads, reflections on the water. It's a sea of harmonious, varied greens. And right in the center, grounding it all, is the solid, stable architecture of the bridge itself.
So how does Kinexa actually measure the body's reaction to this specific complex green environment? Like, what's the metric?
Well, they look at a few things, but primarily they measure what they call muscle homeostasis and heart rate variability.
Yeah.
By exposing a patient to this specific harmony of greens, the nervous system basically stops firing off these invisible, low-grade microstress signals to the muscle fibers. It allows the muscles to finally return to a true baseline state of rest.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It really does. But there's a catch for the clinical application. To get this benefit in your daily life, Kinexa pairs this visual exposure with a very specific technique. You have to maintain what they call a floating gaze.
Wait, what does a floating gaze actually mean in practice? Like, if I go to the park on my lunch break, does that mean I shouldn't be staring really hard at one specific duck on the pond? Or, I don't know, focusing on the veins of a single leaf?
Precisely. Think about it. We spend all day intensely fixating our vision on a tiny point, usually text on a screen, which requires massive muscular effort from the eyes.
Yeah, my eyes always hurt by 5 p.m.
Right. So a floating or panoramic gaze means intentionally widening your field of vision. You let your eyes unfocus slightly. You take in the entire canopy of the trees, the whole pond, the overarching structure of the environment.
Just kind of taking it all in at once.
Exactly. You let the harmony of the colors wash over your peripheral vision rather than actively focusing on a single point. That wide gaze tells your brain that you aren't hunting and you aren't being hunted. You're just existing in safety.
That is incredibly practical. You are actively utilizing your peripheral vision to signal safety.
Yeah.
But, you know, nature isn't always just a serene, overwhelming sea of green like the Japanese bridge.
Sure.
Most environments we navigate are messy. They're full of different colors and distractions. How does this biological tool hold up when the visual environment gets, well, complicated?
That is exactly the next variable Kinexa explores. And they use another Monet painting to demonstrate it, Le Jardin à Sainte-Adresse.
Oh, right.
Because if the Japanese bridge is a soothing blanket of green, this garden painting is a chaotic, high-contrast explosion of color.
Yeah, if you picture this painting, it is very busy. You've got the glaring white of the boat sails in the background, the deep blue of the ocean, and then the foreground is just bursting with these vibrant, almost aggressive red and yellow flowers. There's a lot going on.
It's loud.
It's very loud. So
Yeah.
where does the green chromotherapy fit into a scene that busy?
It fits in by acting as the anchor. So in this painting, the green foliage isn't the only color, obviously, but it is the structural foundation. It's engaged in a massive visual dialogue with the reds, whites, and blues, but the green is what organizes the chaos.
Oh, I see.
Kinexa actually calls this structure in the flux. When you are bombarded by a complex visual environment, the green acts as a cognitive relief valve.
Structure in the flux. I really like that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
But what does a cognitive relief valve look like on a brain scan?
Well, Kinexa measures this as a significant drop in attentional tone.
Attentional tone.
Yeah. When you are navigating a busy street or a cluttered room, your prefrontal cortex, which is the analytical decision-making engine of your brain, is working in overdrive. It's constantly categorizing threats, identifying objects, trying to make sense of all the spatial relationships.
It's like exhausting.
Extremely. But when your eye catches the dominance of natural green structures within that chaos, activity in the prefrontal cortex actually drops, your gaze settles, the brain stops trying to aggressively analyze every single red flower or white sail because the green framework tells it the overall environment is stable.
Okay, so if my prefrontal cortex is a web browser, and I've got like 50 tabs open because of all the emails, notifications, urban clutter, and all this. Oh man, I need that from my brain.
We all do. Your brain is essentially a relentless pattern recognition machine. When it perceives the reassuring, predictable architecture of the vegetal world, even amidst the chaotic flux of the ocean or bright flowers, it is given biological permission to drop its vigilance.
It just lets go.
Yeah, it recognizes the baseline safe program. It says, I know this pattern. This pattern means the ecosystem is stable. I don't need to keep background processing for predators. And it automatically force quits all those exhausting background applications.
That makes so much sense when you explain the actual mechanism. I mean, Monet basically instinctively painted his gardens exactly the way a modern neurologist might prescribe a cognitive reset.
He really did.
So we know that structural green calms the analytical brain by organizing the chaos. But what about the physical light itself? Because when I'm in a dense forest, the light feels entirely different than when I'm standing in, say, Walmart parking lot.
Very different.
Does the physical property of the light bouncing off these leaves matter?
It matters immensely.
Yeah.
And it actually represents the next major pillar of Kinexa's protocol. To explain this, they move away from Monet and look at Pierre-Auguste Renoir's painting, Sous le Marronnier, or Under the Chestnuts.
Okay.
This stage of the research shifts the focus entirely from the color green to the actual quality of the light interacting with your eyes.
Well, Renoir was the absolute master of light.
Yeah.
And in this painting, he captures that really specific dappled light that falls through thick tree branches.
Yes, exactly. He painted light exactly as it passes through the thick canopy of chestnut trees. It is fragmented, it's soft, it's vibrant, but it is deeply tamed.
Tamed light.
Yeah, and that tamed, securing light is physically measurably different from the direct, punishing sunlight you experience in an open, concrete space.
Because direct light causes immediate physical strain, right? If you step out into the blazing sun, you instantly squint. Your eye muscles violently contract to protect the pupil. And I'm guessing that physical muscular tension in your face sends a stress signal right back up the chain to the brain.
You nailed it. Your body interprets that harsh ocular tension as environmental hostility. But the physiological effect of this filtered, green-tinted light that Renoir captured does the exact opposite. Kinexa's data shows that this specific filtered light dramatically reduces retinal glare. Because the light is tamed, your eyes don't need to defend themselves. This actively lowers ocular fatigue. The tiny, incredibly intricate muscles surrounding your eyes and controlling your lenses are finally allowed to progressively let go.
Let me stop you right there. So the eye muscles themselves relaxing. Does that just make your eyes feel better, or does that trigger something larger in the body?
Oh, it triggers a massive systemic biological cascade.
Yeah.
That localized relaxation in the eye muscles combined with the specific microthermal environment.
Wait, microthermal?
Yeah, because your brain knows that under a green canopy, the temperature is cooler and regulated.
Okay.
So that combination sends a profound safety signal down the vagus nerve. It actively lowers your heart rhythm and forcefully engages the parasympathetic nervous system.
The parasympathetic nervous system, that is the holy grail of physical recovery.
It really is.
We talk about this all the time, how we spend so much of our modern lives trapped in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode, just pumping out adrenaline and cortisol to survive our morning commutes and our deadlines.
And this is why Kinexa's clinical analysis is so groundbreaking. They are proving that the mere quality of the light you are looking at is a direct trigger for that parasympathetic shift.
Wow.
The tamed, green filtered light is the biological key turning the lock. It shifts your entire bodily state from burning energy to conserving and repairing it.
So what does this all mean for our overall state of mind? Like, we know structural green forces the analytical brain to chill out. We know filtered light triggers deep physical rest in the nervous system. But does this visual data just turn us into relaxed zombies?
What do you mean?
Like, is the end goal here just to make us incredibly sleepy?
Right.
Or can this biological tool actually give us energy or make us feel happy without stressing us out?
That is the perfect question, and it leads us directly into the fourth and final artwork in this Kinexa protocol. Camille Pissarro's painting, Printemps à Louveciennes, or Spring at Louveciennes. We've covered structural anchoring and light filtration. Now we are looking at the psychology of renewal and how specific shades of color affect our mood and muscle tension simultaneously.
Spring at Louveciennes. Just by the title, we are dealing with a totally different vibe. The deep, heavy greens of a summer forest are gone. This painting is filled with these very delicate, light, tender greens and soft, pale yellows.
Right. And from a biological perspective, spring isn't just a season, it's a promise. In the ancestral natural world, those specific tender greens and soft yellows are the ultimate indicators that the harshness of winter is over.
The snow is melting, things are growing.
Exactly. They signal the return of warmth, the growth of new vital food sources, and total biological regeneration.
Wait, so does the brain react differently to a light, tender spring green than it does to a deep, dark forest green?
Yeah.
Like, is Pizarro's painting basically acting like a biological cocktail, a mix of a natural sedative with a gentle dopamine hit?
That is an incredibly accurate way to describe it. It really is a biological cocktail. The psychophysiological effect of these springtime hues is entirely unique.
Really?
Yeah, when your eyes take in these tender greens, they actually activate the brain's reward circuits. You get that subtle dopamine hit associated with discovering a new resource or surviving a threat. But, and this is the key, it happens while simultaneously maintaining the profound state of parasympathetic calm we achieved under Renoir's chestnut trees.
So you're awake, but relaxed.
You feel energized and optimistic, but completely physically safe.
I want to clarify something here because the Kinexa data mentions that this specific exposure causes a drop in residual muscle tone. What exactly is residual muscle tone? Are we talking about that deep, lingering tightness in my jaw or my shoulders that just won't go away even when I'm like lying on the couch watching TV?
That is exactly what it is. Residual muscle tone is that low-grade, constant contraction of your muscles that you don't even realize is happening because your body is chronically anticipating stress.
Oh, I have that all the time.
We all do. But Kinexa measures a direct correlation between exposure to these spring hues and the melting away of that stubborn residual tension. It creates a state of joyful relaxation.
So the tender greens tell your brain, hey, we made it. The winter is over. The food is growing. You can finally, truly drop your guard.
Yes. And Dr. Delong and the Kinexa team highlight one final vital mechanism here. Prolonged exposure to these specific tender green tints doesn't just make you feel good in the moment, it actively prepares the human body to transition into restorative sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, by engaging the reward circuits without triggering the stress response, the body is primed for what they call nocturnal neuroplasticity.
Nocturnal neuroplasticity, meaning the brain's ability to heal and rewire itself while we sleep.
Correct. Your brain is prepped to repair cellular damage, to form new, healthy neural connections, and to consolidate memories optimally because it feels entirely secure about the future. The visual input of spring guarantees the safety of the night.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of what Dr. C. Delong and Kinexa Formation present in this protocol. We've walked through these 4 incredible Impressionist works, but again, to remind everyone listening, the goal today was never to turn you into an art critic.
Not at all.
The point is to understand the clinical tool they have built. They took this profound, almost subconscious artistic intuition from Monet, Renoir, and Pizarro, and they translated it into hard, actionable medical data.
They're documenting the unavoidable physical reality of what visual input does to the human machine. They aren't asking their patients, how does looking at this garden make you feel on a scale of 1 to 10?
Right, it's not a survey.
No, they are using highly sensitive equipment to measure the precision of a patient's physical movement, their postural stability, their cognitive load, their heart rhythm variability, and the depth of their physical recovery while being exposed to these specific visual stimuli. It is a fully quantified, objective approach to visual therapy.
I want to read a quote directly from the Kinexa synthesis, actually, because I think it perfectly crystallizes everything we've been unpacking today. In their findings, they state, look at these paintings. They are not paintings. They are reset buttons for your prefrontal cortex. At Kinexa, we integrate this visual silence into our protocols. I just cannot get over that phrase, visual silence.
It's powerful. And we connect this to the bigger picture. Kinexa has outlined a definitive, undeniable 3-step process of regeneration by renewal.
Okay, what are the 3 steps?
Step 1 is the visual signal. Your primal brain recognizes the tender greens and the stable vegetal structures as a definitive biological signal of safety. Step 2 is the physiological response. Because of that visual signal, your vagus nerve engages, your body halts cortisol production, your heart rate stabilizes, and your muscles progressively release their deep residual tension.
That's step 3.
Step 3 is the consolidation. The prolonged exposure to this tamed light and harmony of greens prepares your entire nervous system for deep restorative sleep and neuroplastic healing. It is an entire cascading biological event, and it is initiated simply by what you choose to let your eyes rest upon.
It is genuinely mind-blowing when you trace the entire pathway like that.
Mm.
We have gone on quite a journey today. I mean, we started with the ancestral safety and the pure cortisol-crushing power of Monet's Japanese bridge. We explored the massive cognitive relief, the forced quitting of those mental browser tabs in the structured chaos of his garden at Saint-Adresse. We felt the physical, eye-relaxing parasympathetic shift of Renoir's filtered, dappled chestnut light. And finally, we experienced the psychological promise, the gentle biological dopamine hit of Pissarro's tender spring greens.
And the absolute most important takeaway for you listening right now is that visual silence and green chromotherapy are not just theoretical, abstract concepts happening in a lab in France.
No.
They are highly practical, accessible tools that you can deploy every single day. By actively managing what you look at, by intentionally seeking out that complex harmony of natural greens, and by consciously utilizing a wide panoramic floating gaze instead of a harsh focused stare, you can actively manipulate your stress levels, your heart rate, and your brain's ability to recover.
It really puts the power right back into your own hands, or I guess right back into your own eyes. You don't have to just be a passive victim of a stressful, visually loud environment. You can use the natural visual world to literally biohack your nervous system back to a healthy baseline.
This raises an important question, though, and I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Okay, let's hear.
If human biology is so deeply, fundamentally wired on an evolutionary level to require the complex harmony of natural greens and soft filtered light just to achieve cellular homeostasis and deep recovery, wait, sorry, let me rephrase that.
Sure.
If we need all that just to recover, what is the invisible, compounding, long-term physiological cost of spending our days trapped in gray, angular, concrete environments, staring endlessly into the harsh, direct, artificial blue light of our screens?
Oh, that's heavy.
If Kinexa has definitively proven that natural art and green spaces are literal, biological reset buttons for our nervous system, shouldn't we begin treating our visual diet with the exact same clinical seriousness and scrutiny as our nutritional one?
Wow, that is a brilliant way to frame it. Are you feeding your brain junk light all day, or are you making time to feed it visual silence? That is definitely something to chew on the next time you catch yourself staring mindlessly at your phone, when you could just look up, unfocus your eyes, and look at a tree. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking out those green spaces.